Hi guys, while the likes of Farage and the Tories want the public to focus their concerns on immigration, there's little talk of emigration, where instead of people arriving on British shores, they're leaving to build a life in places like Canada and Australia. Ireland has experienced such a phenomenon to differing degrees over the last 200 years, but there's a growing exodus from Britain which can be blamed on a broken social contract. Here, Vicky Spratt from the newspaper spoke to Times Radio about how housing, job prospects and broken public services are forcing young people out.
I think that this country has become a very, very difficult place to be a young adult. I mean, I'm 36, nearly 37. I own my flat. It's a one-bedroom flat, but it's really expensive. And I know lots of people who've not been able to do the same. There is a real problem in this country where I think the scarring effect that we saw on young adults' wages after 2008 means that young people are struggling financially. And because housing is so expensive, there's not really anything to aim for, even if you do all of the right things. Go to university, work hard, even if your mental health is in a good state, which is not guaranteed, you're not necessarily going to be able to buy a home to have a secure life. And I think that is making people really, really, really miserable. And then there's the fact that all of our public services are creaking. I don't know if you've tried to get around this country recently, but every time I do, I'm kicked off a train or waiting for a train. I nearly got stranded in Manchester recently. It is not an easy place to be.
And do you think, I mean, you work a lot in the housing space. Are you clear-eyed on what you think would need to happen in that space to try and entice more young people to stay here and put down roots here?
I think housing, just to be clear, is one part of this. And I think even if you created loads of really brilliant, affordable homes for young people, you'd have to do a bit more to entice them to stay in Britain. We need jobs, for instance, that people want to do in the places that they want to live. But I think housing is a huge part of it. And the only way to fix it is to build homes, which Labour have said they're going to do. But obviously that's going to take such a long time, as you will also know, Lara. But I think beyond that, they need to make sure they're going to be affordable. And right now, I don't think we really have a model that addresses the gap between wages and house prices. And I think this government, or any government that was serious about helping young adults, would have to come up with something like Help to Buy, perhaps, which of course was the scheme we had under the George Osborne, David Cameron Conservative government, or maybe even a model of social housing aimed at young adults. Because even if Labour can build all of the homes they say they're going to build, I don't know how many young adults are going to be able to afford them unless they've got really, really rich parents who are going to give them enormous deposits.
I think the key takeaway from this, and I've been speaking to young people about this as well, is security, certainty. There's no security when it comes to jobs. People are going to university. People are upholding their side of the social contract. They're being told by society, look, you're a young person, finish school, go to university, get a degree, and you'll be able to get a good job. But that's gone. It's no longer a guarantee. So that side of the social contract has been broken. But the issue of security is so important. There's no security about jobs. So in regards to the pay, you don't know what sort of pay you're going to get when you finish university or if you're training for a particular position. There's no security whether that job will last the time you need. You know, we can forget about the idea of a job for life, but even long-term employment is no longer something that can be guaranteed. And then how can you even consider the idea of buying a house if you don't have job security? You know, so many people are renting, and their rent is sometimes triple what they would actually pay if it was a mortgage. And at the end of 10, 15, 20 years of renting, they have nothing to show. But if they had been able to get a mortgage, they would have owned that property outright, or at least somewhat. So job security, I think, is fundamental here. And as Vicky has also pointed out, their public services are on their knees, are creaking. So a lot of young people, of course, relying on public transport. They can't rely on public transport anymore because those services have not been funded sufficiently. So when it comes to housing, there's a lack of security because you don't know whether you're going to be able to to buy a house. You don't even know whether you're going to be kicked out of your rented accommodation because of the lack of protections for renters. Job security is something that's for the birds. And of course, young people are looking at this and saying, well, I'm trying to do my best here. I'm struggling with mental health issues. I'm struggling with the cost of living. And everything's working against me. So why should I stay here? There's nothing going for me here. The government is doing nothing. Society is doing nothing for me. So I might as well leave. Now, people can complain about that, but that's the reality. Now, what do we do to fix that? We have to create security. We have to fund public services so young people can rely on them, so they can get into the workplace. We have to create better work environments, better pay, and stronger job security. Stronger unions, perhaps, but legislation to protect workers. This is what's necessary. I don't know if we're going to be able to go back to a time when, you had a job for life, but we need stronger protections for workers, because if we don't implement these measures, we're going to see more and more young people emigrate. And this is at a time when, the population in Europe and in the West is getting older, and we need more young people if we are to maintain this model of young people propping up a pension system. So we have a bigger population of older people and a diminishing population of younger people. So we have to do something. And I think the core thing here is security. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.